if you're not paying attention to those warning lights that come on, those aren't decorations.
Right.
They're there. Sometimes batters will have those lines, and you can kind of see where it starts depleting, the energy starts depleting. Your body's the same way, your mind's the same way, but being able to recognize those early warning signs before you get depleted and move into burnout.
Welcome to MetaGagement, the HR show that dives deep into the heart of employee engagement and workplace culture. Your hosts, Ann Scottlin and Dr. Lyman Montgomery, bring you a groundbreaking show that explores innovative strategies and insights to transform and elevate your organization's HR practices. Dr. Montgomery is an employee engagement expert and best-selling author, while Ann Scottlin is an acclaimed business consultant and podcaster. Together, they will unpack the complexities of modern HR challenges and reveal innovative solutions that can be immediately applied to your workplace. Please welcome Ann Scottlin and Dr. Lyman Montgomery.
Hello and welcome back to MetaGagement-HR with Dr. Lyman Montgomery and myself, Ann Scottlin. Hi, Lyman.
Hello, how are you doing, my friend?
I am great. I'm so excited to be here for all of our HR people out there who want to jump in with us today and talk about some really important things. In particular, a new and different look at burnout and engagement. This is this subject never goes away. How do you cure disengagement and burnout? And how can we go meta in doing that? How can we think outside the box? How can we take advantage of those things that are naturally occurring in our environment and our staff to make those transitions easier, for sure? I mean, I can't tell you the number of times in my lifetime I've been burned out. What about you, Lyman?
I often say, do we burn out or get burned up?
I crash. I'm like, I'm one of those people who goes into overdrive. Just
bad. And that comes from, again, burning both ends. And then if that's not enough, we start burning the middle. And there's nothing left. We've been stretched so thin till we reach a breaking point. And so there are a lot of people that are literally on the verge of burnout, and we continue to burn them. It's what some people call burn and turn. We burn them up, and then we wonder why we have big turnover problems in the workplace.
I like the burnout versus burn up, because you have to bring some humor to these conversations, right?
Right.
The burnout, we understand, like the what we've said before too, and I love visuals and I love history. I'm a nerd, you guys know, about history. So the old-fashioned candles, you could put a candle on a stick that spins, right, like on a nail or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the wick would be in both ends. The old homemade candles, you burn one until you get like halfway to the nail, then you just spin it over and burn the other side. So that's what we talk about, burning the candle for two ends. But what if you're burning out like a comet, a meteor? It's not just that the fire goes out, it's that you disappear. And sometimes in my professional life that I have felt like I was about to disappear.
Yeah. And you see that in Hollywood, the industry that you're very familiar with, where you see an actor that was very popular, and then, you sit around and you say, wait a minute, whatever happened to so-and-so? And they interview him, 15 years later, and they say, well, what happened? You was at the height of your career. And they say, man, I burned out.
Yeah.
Just like that comet. They were a bright light flying through the sky, and all of a sudden they disappear.
Which is so interesting that you brought that up, because I think that, people have experience burnout for very many different reasons. But sometimes burnout can just happen. It doesn't for a lack of incentive.
Mm-hmm.
So some actors, as other professionals, burn out just because of lifestyle, circumstances, personal makeup, the whole thing. But also sometimes you see people press through. You're like, well, if I was getting paid that money, I wouldn't burn out. Well, we're all still human. I don't care how famous you are. There is a point at which incentive in the workplace or anywhere else no longer can force you into overdrive and performance. At some point, if you're not taking care of yourself and your team, things just come to a stop.
Yeah, and we see this time and time again. Individuals that should have retired 10 years ago, but financially they can't.
Mm.
And they literally have nothing left in the tank. They don't take vacations. They don't take sick days. They just grind, grind, grind until they grind to a halt. And that's a sad situation to be in,
And
to where you
hopefully,
have worked so hard for so long till now you just grind yourself into the ground.
and that's the thing, because people will say working towards retirement, working towards this, working towards that, if I just push harder, but that doesn't do any good to anyone if at 55 you just have a heart attack at work one day.
No.
We think that we are
Yeah.
somehow,
Or the day you retire.
yeah,
I was going to say, and the day you retire, you die.
yeah,
You built all this energy, working, grinding towards retirement. My wife was sharing with me a story about a coworker of hers that always talked about, oh, when I retire, I'm going to travel the world. When I retire, I'm going to do A, B, and C. And about, I think she said, a month to 3 months after retirement, she had a massive heart attack and died. So she never got to live her life because all she knew was work and how to grind towards something that, unfortunately, by the time she got there, she didn't get to live long enough to see the second phase of her
hmm,
life because she grind so much. I believe
so
she grind
much.
herself to the grave.
And while there is personal choices and decisions involved in that, it does fall within. Sorry, I just like bumped everything here. It does fall within purview of HR and the company to also. Do you permit that? Do you permit people to? It's irresponsible use of resources to allow
Yeah,
people to burn out, especially irrecoverably burn out. We're not suggesting everyone run for the hills and John used to tease me, during the recession and whatnot, and he got laid off from a big company, and it was just, it was one of those things. It's like let's just move out into the country and have a peach orchard. I'm like, listen, I grew up on a ranch. Do you know how much work it is to grow
there you
anything,
go.
animals, food, anything? Like, are you kidding me? There are 120 other things I would do before I did that.
There you go. There you
So we're
go.
not
Yeah.
encouraging people to run to the hills and leave their jobs, but we're rather encouraging companies to getting engaged. It's the word with
Yes.
your people
Yes.
and bring health and well-being. The company's legacy is not just the bottom line. It's also if you're responsible. It's like being responsible with the environment. Well, human beings are part of the environment, and how you are responsible with that resource is just as important.
Yeah. And and you bring up a very good point. And that is, we talk about running to the hills. No, we don't want you to run to the hills. We want you to run to meta wellness, a new way of thinking about wellness. You know, the real cure to disengagement and burnout is meta wellness. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And that's an individual. It's the out of the box experience. It's saying, you know what? I've been working hard. It's okay for me to take some time off to reconnect, to re energize, to refocus my focus because I've
Mm-hmm.
lost my focus because I'm so busy taking care of everyone. And this is actually dedicated to HR professionals because they are the ones that silently are burned out, but they feel like they have to show up for everyone in the workplace. But who is there to take care of HR when they burn out?
Oh, we could do a whole 3-part workshop on that, and I think it could actually be a lot of fun. I think that would be extremely popular.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
I
because
agree
who's
with you.
taking care of you? That's a huge question,
You
and
know what? Let's do it. Let's do it.
yes, I would love that. I mean, I always I grew up in a very wellness-driven family, so that's
Yes.
part of my second nature and experience as well. But how do we take care of ourselves? Who do we know we can go to? Who do we know has our back? And all those things that are super, super important. And in HR, when you're having to bring a cure to 1,000 problems that were not of your own making,
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you need some support yourself? So
Yes.
such great questions.
Especially those that are in employee relations where your job is to defuse, to mitigate, to investigate, as well as to figure out a way of helping employees solve their problems.
Mm-hmm.
That can be very stressful. It can be overwhelming at times, where all you're hearing is problem after problem after problem, and people are looking to you for the solution.
Mm-hmm. There's something I was just researching the other day. It's I'll see if I get this right, but basically, it's called compassion exhaustion. When
Mm,
people are more specifically working with humans and people in hospice, or working with animals in dire situations and trying to rescue and
yes,
recovery situations, you can actually become, it's called compassion fatigue. There's even a kind of therapy that addresses compassion fatigue. Whoa, cannot say that. Compassion fatigue. But I was really impressed because, like, that is such an important thing to understand,
it
because
is.
I think, well, we don't typically think of, HR as being a compassion industry. We're not like the medical and emotional nurturers of people and animals. We are really there. It's HR is kind of like being the older brother, the sister, the parent, the family member who keeps the whole unit going, and it can be exhausting.
It really can. It really can. And not only that, but if you're dealing with problems, no different than if you are a first responder and you're dealing with problems after problems after problems.
Mhm.
By the time you get home and you're met at the door with, you can't believe what little Johnny did. All you want to do is just sit in a recliner sofa and just become a veggie. You don't even have any more brain cells to deal with a problem. And you see this often where it's like, I don't understand. You deal with problems every day and you come home and can't even figure out how to tie your shoe. What's wrong with you? They're exhausted.
I'll do the woman and mom version of that, which is kick off your heels, take off your miserable clothes that you wore all day, go into the bathroom, lock the door, take a bubble bath with your favorite beverage, and
Yes.
just lock everybody out. That's what I do now.
What's that old commercial? Calgon, take me away.
um, yes, no, but so true. When you have nothing left for yourself or others, and we all know that we can't run on empty. One of the hidden benefits of the tragedy that was the entire COVID epidemic was really for people to understand, many for the first time, how important
Hmm.
mental and emotional well-being is. That burnout is not a wimp out.
No. Oh,
That
that's good.
right? That it is human to experience fatigue in all levels of yourself. And for those of you who have come to our events or watched other workshops of ours online, we talk about the 4 quadrants of the human, whether that's physical, emotional, spiritual, professional, whatever those are, the quadrants that interact. And if you're absolutely burned out in one, the whole thing is out of sync, right?
Yes.
So learning how important that balance is, and then finding a way to, if nothing else in HR, I always say there's nothing like living by example. That is the
So
best
true.
thing you can
So
possibly
true.
do, because the employees don't expect you to live by example. They expect what they saw growing up most of their life, which was people
Hmm.
telling them what to do, but who didn't keep their own rules, or
Yes.
who didn't live a standard of what was important about well-being overall, and not and how it affects your productivity at work. So living by example is such a powerful element, and getting in the trenches with people too, to understand burnout is different, so different in different kinds of job descriptions.
Yeah. And you also have this phenomenon uh, where people not just are burned out, but they are literally dead on arrival. And what I mean by that is they're almost like zombies. You see them sitting at the customer service desk, and they have this sort of blank stare. They're just there. There's nothing alive about them. You ask them a question, and they just point. I never forget. I was at a very famous hardware chain, and I went up to the desk, and the person was sitting on a stool, and I said, "Where can I find a screen to replace, a window screen?" And the person didn't even look up. They just literally pointed and said, "Aisle 8," and went right back. I mean, no eye contact. You could tell that person was dead on arrival. And it was like, wow,
Functioning only, barely.
just like a zombie.
So let's talk about when we come back, we're going to take a break here in a moment. When we come back, we're going to talk about what makes going meta different in helping you cure disengagement and burnout, in helping cure disengagement from reducing burnout overall on your work, on your team, in your company, and what it means to go different. How do we use things like neuroscience to do things differently than they've been done before? And how do we apply that to practical steps that can help us individually as HR professionals and also our teams transform that environment that we have to work in every day? So while you are here, and as we take the short break, please do please subscribe, please send us your comments. Tell us how you like the show. We appreciate everyone who's been sending messages and emails. You can also email us directly. Just pop over to the website, metagagement.com. You can shoot us a message from there or on whatever platform you're watching today. We would absolutely love to hear from you. And if you know someone else in HR or just in business in general who would like really to learn more about going meta, about what burnout means and how you can come at it from a different approach, shoot them the link to the show. If we're still streaming live, they'll jump in where we are. And if it's after we've finished, that same link will take them there. So we'll be right back. Can't wait to talk to you more about this topic. Thanks, and see you in a moment.
Are you ready to elevate your team and organizational effectiveness? Dive into the focused Meta Mindset 5 Persona Types Architecture Assessment and discover your unique superpower as a leader or team member. Whether you're a fearless cheerleader, diligent construction worker, calculating chess player, commanding commander, or analytical chemist, this journey of self-discovery will highlight your strengths, sharpen your focus, and propel you towards success. This isn't just a quiz, it's your pathway to unlocking and embracing the potential that will transform your organization. Ready to find out your persona type? Head over to metagagement.com to take the assessment now.
All right, welcome back to MetaGagement-HR, the show that's made for the HR professional. We are in your court. We are listening to you. We are listening to your challenges, and we are looking for outcomes that you tell us are the most important of all in your current situation, both trending all across the country and the world, but also in your own company. So thank you for joining us here today. Again, please like and subscribe, send us a comment or a message. We're talking today about something that is a topic that some people think is overdone, which is burnout. Only because we got burned out of talking about burnout over COVID, I think. But it didn't make burnout go away, because now that everyone is fully, most people are back to work, we're already going right back to the same old patterns we had before, and trying to find ways to keep our employees and keep our teams from disengaging. So Lyman, let's talk a little bit more about what it means to go meta, and how can we bring tools of neuroscience to the practical application of fighting disengagement and burnout?
Yeah, absolutely. We first have to diagnose the problem. And what research have shown us is that approximately 60% of most employees that wake up in the morning, drive to a job, that they are disengaged from the work. What that means is they are just basically there, but mentally they've checked out. 18% are what we call actively disengaged. These are the ones that are vocal. These are the ones that say, I hate my job. I hate my boss. The only reason I'm here is because of the benefits, or the only reason I stay here is I have 3, 5, 10 years before retirement, and I'm out of here, and I would never come back to this place. You also have, and this is alarming to me, 25% of the average workforce is burned out. These are individuals that they have nothing left to give. And some, unfortunately, are clinically burned out, that they are at the point of near exhaustion. You mentioned going home and just flopping down or passing out. They are literally saying, you know what, I'm spent. I don't have a new idea. I have nothing. I'm just basically here to get a paycheck. The
Well, you
sad
know,
commentary is 70% of all so-called employee engagement plans fail.
hmm,
That's the problem.
that's a huge problem. 75% too. It always astonishes me because it just seems, with all the effort that's put in, why does that happen and why are those numbers so high? And
Yeah.
with regard to burnout, especially in HR, and we just talked a few minutes ago about the HR professionals, you all yourselves, and how we can help and support you in that. But we'll talk for a moment here specifically about your teams. I think, like many things that we see happen in HR, addressing burnout is usually like, we wait for the fire before we buy a fire extinguisher.
Yes. That's a very good point. And now we're scurrying around saying, you got a bucket, you got a water hose, because we
Yeah.
didn't anticipate. We didn't
Well, and you
anticipate.
didn't watch the signs. You didn't
Yes.
watch for the dry materials near a flame, right? We could have 100 examples of that in a workplace environment, what that could be. You didn't watch for the first sparks. You didn't watch for the signs of smoke.
Mm.
I'm making a comic book in my head right now doing this, and I'm having like the old-fashioned cubicle and smoke coming out of it.
Yes.
You didn't even notice when there was smoke coming out, right? So were you watching the signs? Do you have a grasp on the pulse of each employee and their environment, or at least the ones that you're directly responsible for? And how can you intervene before it gets too late? And sometimes it's not just work. A lot of work burnout is a side effect, can be a side effect of experiences that are brought in from home. Physical
So
exhaustion,
true.
new
So
new
true.
baby in the family, an elderly person or family member who's ill, money trouble, a million other things. So how in HR, how do we engage without being too pushy? How do we find how we can be supportive? Give us an example of what is a way to go meta by using our instinct, which is what meta is all about: instinct, intuition, observation, to get in on this before it becomes too late.
Yeah. And this is part of a 4-part series. The first thing, we're running out of time here, so I'll move quickly. The first thing is, you have to believe that it's possible to recover. I have watched literally thousands over the years, HR professionals literally say to me, "Ann, I don't believe I can recover."
Hmm.
And that's the person that is literally chronically burned out, that they can't even see a way forward. And so the first thing is, if you don't believe it's possible for it to turn around, for it to change, for it to get better, how in the world are you going to be able to communicate to others that things can get better?
Yeah.
Let me share. There's 3 things I think with that believe it's possible that a person can do. In not only to believe, but start small. Instead of trying to take on something big, it might be something as small as, I don't feel like working on another committee. But you say to yourself, you know what? maybe I just do one thing and focus on that one thing. And once I'm done with that, I'm done. So start small. The reason that a lot of people burn out is they take on too much and they're being pulled in 50 different directions
Mm-hmm.
and they feel like they have to answer to everybody. So sometimes, which is number 2, welcome saying no. I'm sorry, my plate is full. I would love to help, but I just really don't have the time nor the resources to be on another committee. And finally, it's okay to walk away and take respite or take a break. So number 1, believe that it's possible. Number 2, embrace saying no. Let no be your, my wife says, no is a full and complete sentence by itself. And number 3, it's okay to take a break. Even if that break is, you know what? I need to go outside, take my shoes off, and just get grounded to the earth. It might mean, you know what? I'm taking an extended lunch break. I need to go to the spa. But you have to do something small to reconnect. It starts there.
Yes, absolutely. The individual starts there. So I think helping create awareness in your team and among employees of what they need personally. And, that can be a challenge sometimes too, because it can also get out of hand. We do
Yeah.
still have to work. So like you can't be having a sick day every day or a personal day every day.
Right.
Well,
Exactly.
I've seen it. So like how do you find that balance? And that's where I think, having extended resources when you treat your employees, your team members as a full human. And I think we're definitely going to bring into this 4-part series our tool with the 4 quadrants, right?
Yes,
Like we're going to bring that
absolutely.
in because you have to address all parts of the human being. And if you notice that one is failing, how can you support them? How can you at least shore up the other 3 to keep the boat floating, right? So what can you do to help? You can't always prevent burnout. You can't always prevent what's going on in someone's home life, but you can try to shore up the other areas by being observant, by being, people don't like that word intuitive. So I say be very observant. That's really all it is.
Yes.
Really listen, watch, experience what people are saying. Look for the subtext. We talked about that when I was, as well. I was always looking for the subtext. Like someone has this great smile on their face and they're going through the day like this. But if you really feel them, if you really think about it, you can tell that they're actually covering something. They're kind of being the clown as a way to get by. They could be completely burned out underneath. Like, why are they clowning more than usual? Maybe it's because they're just happy and celebrating, or maybe it's just a coping mechanism, and you start to recognize those coping mechanisms earlier and earlier, where you can, have a conversation and make sure they have the support and the tools they need. So we are here today on MetaGagement talking again about how do we fight disengagement? And part of disengagement, obviously, that we deal with on a regular basis is burnout. So we would love to hear some of your questions and comments about burnout. What are some of your personal experiences as an HR professional or just in business? When have you found challenges either in your own experience and even more, not to the exclusion of your own experience, with the people around you, where you didn't know how to get involved early enough to prevent the crash? I'm going with the meteor example again. It's not just burning out of the candle; it's complete and utter combustion. It's gone, right? They left. They're no longer doing their job. They've left the company. Like they're completely gone. And how do you intercept that soon enough?
Yes. And how did you bounce back? You want to know. Share. What strategies? Maybe it was a conversation that you had. Maybe you had to seek professional help, whether that be a counselor, a mentor, a coach, or a therapist. We want to know, how did you bounce back from burnout and fatigue?
And in the next three parts of this 4-part series on curing disengagement and burnout, We are going to talk more and more about neuroscience and how that brings a very unique edge to the conversation. We're also going to bring in some of the tools that we have created here at MetaGagement to demonstrate actionable steps you can take, like applying the 4 quadrants to a burnout scenario, for example, which will give you an endless amount of information and many ways. I can't do the math on that, but you can, my chemist friend. How many different combinations of that tool can you use in order to solve a problem? So we're so grateful that you're here with us here today. And please like, subscribe. We're going to come back with so much more. This was just the tip of the iceberg. And we look forward to your questions and comments so that we can get you involved directly in this conversation. Any final comments, Lyman, on engagement before we go?
Yeah, in our next segment, next we want to talk about listening to your energy. What do we mean by that? All of us think of your body, your mind as a battery. And sometimes when people suffer with burnout, it's equivalent to those energy cells being drained. But before you got there, you ever notice like a flashlight or something before the battery's going to start flickering a little bit before it actually goes dead? But if you don't pay attention,
Tesla, it's like this. If it's a Tesla,
yeah,
not sure.
If you're not paying attention to those warning lights that come on, those aren't decorations.
Right.
They're there. Sometimes batteries will have those lines, and you can kind of see where it starts depleting, the energy starts depleting. Your body's the same way, your mind's the same way, but being able to recognize those early warning signs before you get depleted and move into burnout. So that's what we're going to talk about next time, how to listen. And we're not talking about listening with your ears, but how to really intuitively feel when your energy level has dropped to the point to where you are near exhaustion, fatigue, and ultimately burnout.
Mm-hmm. Because it's not going to help you, your company, or anyone else in your life when you are running on absolute empty. So we are going to have some fun. We're going to bring some fun to burnout. Ooh,
yes.
I didn't know we were going to say that. We're going to bring some fun to burnout in these next episodes, bringing you real actionable tools that you can immediately begin to use, bringing you more neuroscience and showing you what it means to go meta and addressing these issues that we've outlined today. So as always, please send us a message, like, subscribe, shoot this link to someone you like who could use a little pick-me-up and an introduction on burnout and the episodes that are following. And we stream every week, Tuesdays. That's at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. GMT for our friends across the pond. And, next time we're going to talk about how do you listen to your own energy levels? And it's not just your caffeinated level, right, Lyman?
That's right.
So join us then. We really look forward to it. Thank you for joining us here today on the show that's created specifically for you, the HR professional. Thanks again from Dr. Montgomery and myself, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye.